Gambit managed to take their map pick of Vertigo and they turned things around, because last time when we talked about it back at the PGL Major, it was a best of one, but Entropiq were able to take the win 69. Gambit come through and win the important one, right? To start things off in this series. It wasn't going to be duped out on this.
Yeah, and in what a manner. They lost both pistols. I mean, even the first gun round in the first half, 4-0, 3-0 down, and still make it look pretty routine, really. And I think here's what we seen yesterday a little bit from Entropiq on that Mirage game, right? Losing the 1v4 to Dreamer, and some rounds that really they shouldn't have. That same thing happened here on Vertigo, and I think they're going to be, kicking themselves for some of those rounds.
Yeah, 10 rounds, 3 of those from first pistol, 3 of those from second, and 1 from first gun round. Yes, you did lose a couple of 1v3s, but for me, the difference was pretty simple, right? Every time Gambit gets an advantage in the round, they turn it into a round. Every time Entropiq gets an advantage,
Gambit turns it into a round.
It's pretty straightforward, right? And I think it was like you said, it looked like a really routine job from Gambit. Imagine if they didn't lose one of the pistols, for example. It would be a much more convincing score. Overall, I think Alien didn't really show that much in this game. He had 13 for 21. Although Vertigo is kind of a map where the AWP, sometimes because of the chaotic style of most teams on A ramp,
Yeah.
and you don't get to shine that much, right, as an AWP, because you get all flashed away and then smoked away and then executed on. It's like a mess, and then a bunch of mollies flying in as well. It's pretty crazy, right? So maybe it doesn't really affect his confidence coming into the second map, and we get to see something from him.
Yeah, maybe we can, but I do think we should take a look back at the point where you pointed out, Janko, right? They were down 5-0 at one point. It was not looking good at all. We're thinking, okay, is Gambit going to drop the ball again? And then they actually pulled off a pretty impressive half-buy.
Yeah, exactly. After losing the first gun round, 4-0 down, right, round 5, they had, I think, just one saved rifle on Exile. Rest of them were on pistols. And you can see it, there's a clear, gamble here early on. They try, in the mid-round, they tried to be aggressive, get information on mid-round. Doesn't quite work out. I mean, you can see really they're in a 3v5 situation, so this should just be a lock for Entropiq. They don't decide even with the information to actually it's 4v5, Hobbit is on 2 HP, and they don't decide to go back to B, right? They still just take it slow, which is fine, creep up towards A-Ram, but then you're going to see another great play from Gambit. They're just committed to this stack. They know they don't have much to lose. Flash comes in perfect from Hobbit, 2 kills from Inters, 1 from Shiro. Now it gets really chaotic, 25 seconds left, right? They rush it a little bit, and Exile there as well on the flank. Nickelback, he's just not ready for that, and Gambit win an all-important round, because it was looking like, maybe this is slipping away from Gambit. Yeah. Maybe this is a rerun of the PGL Stockholm Major, right? But it was here that that whole thing was stopped in the tracks.
Yeah, this is all Gambit right here. People would think maybe Entropiq played a bad anti-eco, whatever. They didn't do anything wrong there. They got the opening, they got Hobbit to 2 HP, they committed obviously to the site, which is perfectly fine. They did the correct correct part of that taking of that ramp with the sandbags, molly and everything. They were just trying to push up, and at the worst possible moment they got.
But Gambit's just better. That's not luck, the timing of the flash, right? It's like you understand the game, you understand the timing as they molly sandbags. That's where they want to start creeping up towards ramp. That's when the flash gets released, and that's why 2 players are blind, and that's why Gambit is.
Maybe the one correction should be in that position on ramp, there is if there are more than 2 people, the rule should be the third guy should be anti-flashed always,
Okay.
And then maybe that's a fix right there. But the molly was flying in the sandbags, and they probably looked at somebody's going to peek from it or something, and it was just a good play from Gambit. There is nothing wrong that Entropiq did there.
Just these small details that it comes down to, right? And like you guys mentioned, the timings, but also Shiro, Mr. Clutch in everything he can possibly do. He just pulls these out of the bag every single time.
Yeah, it's been crazy. He's leading, in opening kills, leading in clutches, right? He's doing it all this tournament, and this was, just after, right before this round, Hobbit won a 1v3, right? So now that put Entropiq on a half-buy, really, and now thinking, they're pulling one back from nowhere. Shiro, you see, also he was super low HP. It doesn't take really that much to bring him down, but he just plays it brilliantly here, outplays Forrester with his fake plan going through the smoke, right? Then has a good guess that the player is flanking, plans for CT. So the most logical thing for him, or for Lackey thing, is okay, he planted there, he's going to go around, go to heaven, but no, Shiro is one step ahead. Great timing to push side holes. He's going to outflank. He's not going to start running on the first kit. That just, I want to say experience, but he's not that experienced. I think it's just the confidence that he's been playing with this whole tournament, and that's just a massive outplay. Just when you're lucky there and you die from it, you're just like, I just got told.
You got to take it.
The thing is, like, kind of Entropiq gave this one to him, right? Because it was a 3v1. Alien really didn't need to crab walk onto the left side because he had the support in a crossfire from the danger guy, right? And then after that smoke in the 2v1, after that smoke on the left side of the site, who was it, Forrester?
Yeah.
He decided to play that smoke. In the 2v1, you don't need to play that smoke. There was a gap on the left side, probably as I saw, because he was pushing into it. There is no need for you to play that smoke. You can play 2v1. Even if he goes into B side, it's fine. Still, it's fine. Because he was low HP, right, at that time. He was already 12.
15.
So, something like that. And then that's another mistake. You're just giving him opportunities. Like Janko said, it was like a perfectly played from Shiro. He understand the moment, he understand the timing of it, and then he just used it against him, and the third guy was just absolutely smashed.
Now, before we start talking about Ancient, I want to tell everyone at home that obviously with our partners CU, we are taking your selfies. If you guys click on the link, which will just appear on this side of me, someone will throw it up. There is a link there. You'll be able to pop in your selfies, cheer for your favorite team, and we actually give some prizes for you guys. We've got some signed V4 power banks for you to win. Link's not coming up, so I'll just not say it.
Where's the link, James? You liar.
I know.
Liar.
Terrible person. Just duping them all out. We posted in Twitch chat.
Thanks for yourself.
See, there you go. Money in the bank as well.
Money in the banks.
There you go.
Banks.
There it is. Can you just you should have played on the other shot so it covers Kassad's face. That would be perfect if it could just be there the whole time. But yeah, we showed you, right, the Shiro clutch, there was the Hobbit clutch that we didn't do, the half buy we've shown, and then of course on top of that you're gonna have a good round from Nafani on A ramp where he's gonna get, the entry kills. He's just very good at that role. And just in the, as Gambit was pushing on B a couple of times and the trades come in, you just see how aware they are of how those trades, the dynamic of entering the site develops really, and they were just able to close those rounds out really efficiently.
They both know how to play, advantage and a disadvantage in Gambit teams, so it's what got them the win at the end.
Now let's talk about Ancient though, right? Because this is Entropiq picking into this, believing they can do some damage, but we know how good Gambit can be on it to the point where teams were just not picking it against them.
Yeah, I think Gambit, just with the way they've been playing, no one had below 70 ADR on Vertigo. It's a team effort. They really seem to be locked in, right? That's why that's what we were saying. Like, if they play on that sort of a level, there's not really much that can go Entropiq's way. I mean, they won both pistols, right, and had advantageous situations and everything, and still it was 16-10 in the end, right? That's a pretty comfortable scoreline. So they need to just do better. They need to find a way to, they're the underdog. Don't stress. Like, just try to play more together. Like, try not your first instinct to be, what can I do now, like, to win the round? No, like, see where your teammates are. Is there something we can do together? Because that's what's killing them right now.
It's a perfect map for it, because Ancient coming up, with a lot of banana fights, a lot of K fights, a lot of mid fights, where people are actually going together from the very start, right? If they manage to control those parts of the map, that's going to be like a big step into having like a decent half in Ancient T side, right? But it needs to start with a couple of good rounds, like they did on Vertigo, right? And after that, they lost the Tantico. But like you said, a lot of teamwork needs to be done here in this map. They're just a team that likes to play Ancient as well, so we might expect something really organized in terms of game plan and execution after that.
Well, let's find out if that teamwork will make the dream work for Entropiq to try and get a map. Otherwise, we'll be looking at Gambit getting a 2-0 here. So let's get back with Hawker and Dinka and see how this one goes down.
Thank you, James. Hopping into Ancient, this is a map that Nafni said in an interview that he wanted people to pick against him and said that people don't want to pick it. Well, Entropiq have gone and done that heading into this best of 5. Do you believe Nafni? Do you think he really wants teams to pick it into him?
I heard him say this back at IM Full too, and I'm not so sure because he went on to ban it in a bunch of the best of ones. I think Gambit are aware that this is a map they're willing to play when teams pick it, but they're not always going to be that comfortable leaving it as the third map all the time. They have played it at this event though. They beat Big on it pretty comfortably, I think. So still definitely a map they're going to be decent on, and just their map pool in general is very good.
Well, it is Entropiq's map pick, and we can focus in on how Entropiq have played this map throughout this event and what sort of common things you can look out for. I think Krad's aggression down in towards B ramp is going to be essential that works out if he's trying to pull that off today against Gambit, because Krad had a great performance yesterday on Entrant. He had a strong showing at the start of the last map, even in this best of 5. So Krad, I think, is going to be influential. If he can have a good game here, then that gives Entropiq an extra piece to play with.
The problem you have with that is that in a best of 5 especially, Gambit knew exactly what maps were coming here. So they could have done that prep work, and especially when you go up against top tier teams, it is so much more difficult to consistently get away with that same aggression. You see it a lot from lower tier teams when they go up against a higher ranked squad. Sometimes those aggressive plays can be punished, because one of the differences I think a lot of top teams have is just their ability to anti-strat and understand exactly how to counter their opponent.
Interested to see how this one is going to get started. Entropiq are going to be starting on the T side. Now, difficult half here on Ancient T side. They've got to get off to a good start with a pistol that will certainly help out. They've taken cave control immediately, but look how passive the setup is from Gambit.
They're comfortable conceding control towards the site. Now, Anthony's been mollied. He will get back safely, but that means the bomb site is wide open for the plant.
Yeah, and that plant is going to go down. Elian is coming in with a headshot. Shiro's down, and now aggression coming in for Force. They're trying to pull some space back, but Nafany with a double kill. 3 kills for Nafany in the pistol, just toppling heads completely. Nickelback makes a risk play, knowing that he's lost players and lost space into the round. Elian is so far away. Bomb has been tapped, but Nickelback's going to swing, but the cover's there. The pistol covers him off. Nafany with a 4K into the pistol. He shut everybody down. He's charging for the ace, and Nafany will get it. 5 kills into the pistol. Strong start for the young in-game leader.
Gambit play it so well with their passive setup. They made sure they had that kit in play because they were willing to concede so much control. So even as Entropiq get into the site with that smoke down, Nafany is able to sit back and get some crucial kills. They even had that smoke that went down in towards B ramp. That meant that final player had no chance. However, when you concede the bomb plant and play so passive in the pistol, that means you've got to be ready for that second round force.
Nafany was calling immediately, rapidly. Racing was his mouth at the end of that race clutch. Seemed like he was calling for the immediate round here. You do not want to be losing to a Force by.
This setup is so strong.
They're so ready for an A play. Force just coming through, but it's chopped down Axel. Shiro's now along the back of the site, and luckily they weren't ready for it. They were not anticipating the position of Shiro, and he comes away with 1. They've got a little lucky there, Entropiq, not to have lost a second player. Shiro was blinded for so long and cancelled out of the round, but the kills keep coming in here for Gambit. Bomb plant down for Entropiq, but the rest is now cleaned up. It's Krad into the clutch. 1 versus 2 coming in from 3 CT spawn. Bomb is tapped and Krad is around the backside. This would be a fantastic clutch for him. A massive round with a defuse being stuck around the corner, and Hobbit had the cross. Entropiq will not win their force by response. It is Gambit that get it done.
Gambit make sure they are fully focused at the start of that second round, even after that initial setup goes against them. Shiro was in a position where he was hoping to just swing off his teammate's contact, but as you pointed out, that flash blinded him for so long that he actually had to let the T's push up into his position. So the rifle no longer had that advantage of catching some unsuspecting players out. Either way, the rotate from Gambit is good enough, but with another bomb plant, Entropiq keep the pressure on again, this time with AKs on the Force.
And this time they're doing the same round. It has a little slower pace to it, and with the smoke down for Gambit early towards A main, they're not going to be charging their way through. So Gambit realized, or Entropiq rather, realized that you can't give too much map control away at the start of the rounds. They're going to start dropping a few players back that started the round towards A. See, Krad's already dropped back outside the B doors, and they've slowed down to hold off elbow just to see what information can be picked up. But Gambit are again going for this very passive CT stance, and that is something they've done over the last few rounds now.
They do seem comfortable sitting back and making sure their site anchors do enough to allow those rotates to be the difference maker.
But there is a chance here for a bomb plant to come in for Entropiq, as it's quite a recessive hold. They haven't even got a player in Temple. It is Axel's work to do from Donut. First kill, second in from him as well. And these rifles are just getting toyed with. Shut down completely. Elian, the last remaining player. And look how quick that rotation was from Gambit over to the A side, because they had that passive setup. Get those B players over to A, and just the numbers there was so strong for Gambit to close it.
The other issue for Entropiq there is the lack of utility. They used their final smoke towards mid pretty early in the round, so they didn't have any smokes into that A site. That means you have to be worried of Temple, CT, and Donut. And that Donut angle especially can be pretty strong, as we saw there.
The cool thing about these two teams is the coaching dynamic. You know, we read that interview from Nafni he did recently, and he was talking a lot about how, you know, Dust 2 is a map that his coaching staff feel very, very comfortable about. I was outside and just seeing them as I was walking back to the casting booth, and the coach is sitting there with the paper out grooves, talking to them and talking it through with the coaching staff and making sure everything's on point. So definitely excited to see that come through from Gambit throughout the rest of this. Nickelback has got into the smoke at Red Room. Hobbit's been caught out by the Tech-9, and that's actually opened up a little bit of a chance now onto Axel at Donut, who's under a lot of pressure, but Axel handles it well. Flicks out for the final headshot. Did run out of ammo, so gets overrun by the pistols. And now just Crad left with an M4A1S.
Black Smoke creates some space. See, Crad is hoping he can just get that early kill to make the round more doable. Right now, he's locked in from behind and not ready for Nafany. Slight risk taken there by Hobbit early in the round as he tried to go through that smoke. He didn't realize the tease was so far up mid, but against the pistols, it's not a big deal. It's a 4-0 lead for Gambit before finally Entropiq get a proper full gun round out. They went for the force-ups earlier, which didn't have everything they would have wanted. Now they can finally run whatever they wanted to call for in this first gun round. And we've actually got a timeout ahead of this one. Oftentimes, teams will come into maps and they will have specific strategies in mind for that first gun round especially. So the fact that we see this pause so early here from Hooch maybe suggests he feels the team are getting a little uncomfortable after a slow start here. Just making sure everyone knows exactly what they want to do ahead of this gun round, because if they lose this, they actually go pretty far down pretty early on because of all those unsuccessful force buys. That is a man who is very determined.
No emotion, no blinking. Who needs to blink, Hawker? 4 rounds in a row now. Poor Gambit and Entropiq into the best buy they've had yet. Maybe sending some utility out towards middle early. That standard donut Molotov and the smoke in towards Red Room. But Gambit are challenging down mid, and they've taken a lot of damage early. Hobbit, in fact, is caught in the transfer from Nickelback. He was doing this yesterday against Fiend, and is now doing it again against Gambit. Nafany realizes they need a response. They need to take map control back, and so he gets aggressive down into the B ramp, and he's found another one. Inter pushes on the timing from Cave as well. And this is just unbelievable. The response from Gambit is immediate, and Entropiq go from hero, the heights of the 2 kills early, down to nothingness on the aggression on the B site from Gambit.
And whenever Gambit feel comfortable, whenever they have the advantage, they go back to this passive setup. Inter's sitting all the way back on the B site, letting them walk in because they feel as though they can play retake here if they have to.
Yeah, this is just beautiful Counter-Strike being played from Gambit right now as they try and get in towards the site. They're going to need to start peeling these numbers back. And luckily, Elian has been able to do that. He's dropped Inters, puts it into the 2v2, but it's Nafany and Shiro, and now just Shiro into another clutch. Now, you can't really count him out too often in these clutches. But getting back into that B site, it was so far away. By the time he would arrive there, it would be very difficult to clear out all of the positions you have to worry about. He doesn't have an incendiary to molly out the cave. It would just have to rely on, a mistake coming in from Entropiq. He's not really in the position to do this, so he's going to be sitting back and just saving this AWP. And often you will see Shiro do this. He has been a little bit more aggressive over this event, but often you will see him calculate what clutches to go for.
Yeah, listen, man, if there's any player in the world who I'm going to trust knows when a clutch is doable, it's going to be Shiro.
Oh, yeah.
I trust that he knows when a clutch is possible. I mean, even at this event, the clutch stats, 13 clutches for Shiro. Elian is the next closest at the event with 4 clutches won. It's not even close, man.
And the thing is that stat's just been ridiculous the entire tournament, right? Like, obviously, he's had more maps to play, but you look at the start of the tournament, he was still just miles ahead. He got a lot of clutches in the early days at this event and has been able to just keep it up and just keep going throughout. And that is really what made Shiro famous, was just the clutches that have come through from him. And we got to see them on one of his first ever LAN events, was Copenhagen Games in 2019, Hawker. Shiro made probably the best play of the event, and we knew at that point, this guy is something.
I honestly thought that his playstyle wasn't going to be replicable at the top level when I saw the way he played at that event, because no other AWPer can play so passively and play for the clutch so often like he does. But it has absolutely transferred to the top level. So impressive for him to come through in that way. Entropiq, though, finally finding some success. That first gun round was good for them. They got that early mid control. Gambit this time, though, sending 3 out towards mid early, really focusing on getting that early control. And they've got it.
Yeah, they've tossed the utility down into the B lane. Crad Yeah, the player I was talking about really needed to step up today. He had a fantastic performance yesterday to get him to this point in the event.
Everyone's watching for that boost now.
Yeah, you've seen a couple of teams that have just rocked that boost over the top, just peeled away a nice opening headshot. When that smoke's up in front of Cave, you can just focus on that boost and hope not to be caught by it. We did see Entropiq rocking a different boost yesterday, a triple boost actually, in towards the B lane that peered over the top of the site.
That was a very cool one. Would be fun to see that one come through again. I'm sure Gambit will have done their homework though.
They're not going to check the inters though. Luckily, the second play was in from Krad to trade out the initial play of Nickelback through, who's been doing a lot of the entry work here on Ancient. Krad able to trade it out at least blow for blow. Shiro has rotated over this time. He's not going to be left on his own. Hung out to draw at the opposite side of the map, but he has taken damage. Gonna have to try and play with the distraction, the rifle of Hobbit, who's in at Cubby. Are they going to check him? Shiro's coming with a shot that's distracted and pulled their attention away. And Hobbit for that gets the double kill. And they knew where Krad was from his earlier fight, so they eliminate him quickly. And Gambit, you just see the read they had. They knew they had everybody over at the right side of the map, and just the numbers was enough to have the team play strong enough to bring down Entropiq.
And Entropiq just didn't have the utility in place to be able to properly execute onto that site. Normally, you always want a molly, almost always want a molly into Cubby. I think the only way you can get away with not having that molly into Cubby is if you're coming out through Cave and you just have those smokes to the back of the site. It's easier to clear. It's not going well for Entropiq so far. They go back to the pace on mid, and Shiro, close quarters orb, hits the shot.
Yeah, lovely quick kill from Shiro. Nickelback has been picked out of the round early. Nickelback will often try and force those awkward fights, which I actually think is essential to winning rounds on the T side of Ancient. You have to do a lot of disrespecting early utility in towards the elbow or banana, and just really disallow the CTs to feel comfortable about that mid control, and you try and fight them early on B lane as well. And Nickelback seems to just understand that, you know, you're going to have to just get into awkward situations, try and just get in these difficult spots and take those fights. And I think he's shown at this event he's very capable of winning those.
Entropiq there used that boost for Lackey to start to look in towards Jaguar. But Inters is playing all the way back in the cubbies of the cave. Here's some aggression from Hobbit trying to flank, and one kill is all he needs to back away confidently.
Yeah, Gambit's starting to get confident now, knowing they're going up against a weaker weapon.
Through mid as well.
Very, very proactive. And they've just got the whole map at this point in their hands. Even if you make a panic play and they try and rotate back, there's a player in spawn. Axel's got that covered. They've got mid. They've got cave. They've got everything. Entropiq really stand no chance looking at the scoreboard. On paper right now, we would take a monumental mistake from Gambit, but also a huge opening from Entropiq to try and play this one in their favor. They shouldn't even get to the bomb site, really, and that's exactly what will happen. Nafny brings them down. 6 rounds for Gambit. They look super strong right now in Ancient.
And maybe Nafny was telling the truth when he said he wants teams to pick Ancient into them because he thinks they can just come through and show what they can do on this map. This is that first shot from Shiro. It is a risk to take that sort of fight against the pistol. If you do go down there, that's when the round could collapse. But Shiro's so consistent at landing those shots. Make sure to come through for his team. Entropiq finally back to the full buy. This time, every single Entropiq player going out towards the B side of the map early.
Yeah, Lackey's trying to get up the B lane. He's been so quiet so far, yet to get a kill on the board. He's been one of the more impactful players at this event for Entropiq. Can often find opening success, multi-kills coming through from Lackey. They have actually done a good job at just smoking off Cave and taking their B side control. But Gambit are fine playing it this way. They have that cave control. They have the boost over the top. And when Inter spraying down, he would have loved to kill on Elian, but they had considered the bomb plan. Axel's come over to try and stop the party, though, for Entropiq. But Elian and Forster have cut through and taken the space back. This cave control is not going to be enough because the players are starting to dwindle. Inters is now alone. He taps away, but he's run out of ammo. And Entropiq play the contact play into the B site, and they get them way through, and they just take that control back. They get a little bit more space. And Gambit, the cave control wasn't enough, Hawker.
Yeah, and that's a scenario where it's a position for Gambit where Nafny was just spamming those bullets in towards one of those wallbangs early in the round. And so as soon as you start hearing that on the T side, you probably know there is going to be a timing window. If you can time exactly when he's going to start reloading and maybe tucks back into that cave, you can start to get the site control. But most importantly for Entropiq, because there was such little resistance on the site itself, look at these positions they're able to get for the post plant. Elian's AWP can actually just watch that angle towards CT. They have a player pushed all the way up past the right side of the site so that they can converge on that angle together. And that is the best way to stop those rotates from happening, to have some good advanced post-plant positions, and to not even allow Gambit any chances to get back into the site.
And it's Lackey this time that plays in those awkward spots and disrespects the utility on the ramp and catches the information and the timings that allows Entropiq onto the site. We'll see if that continues here. Gambit will probably start paying a little bit more attention to some of those plays. This round, they've thrown mid utility down, but Gambit haven't committed into mid. They feel like leaving Hobbit just in the red room is enough.
Another difference for Gambit can be when Shiro has that AWP on B. Perhaps that will help them stop some of those early plays, but this time Entropiq don't look focused on that side of the map whatsoever. They're coming back over to A. Inter's again boosted up, but this position was cleared previously.
And that smoke has just faded away at the perfect time to allow the explosion from Entropiq as they arrive. And Inter's good kill as he explodes this rifle. Nearly there for the follow-up kill. Hobbit now dropping back, and he's actually eliminated that mid play. Such a standard play for the T's to try and have that one mid lurk. And they're often aware of it, but they can't plant the bomb. Just throwing utility down and coating the floor of fire just disallows that bomb plant. And that gives extra time for Gambit to get in good spots, but it also puts more pressure on Entropiq. And you'll see mistakes come through like that, and Gambit are able to punish you for it. Entropiq get their way into the site, but the utility was perfect. They just couldn't get the bomb down. And now Forrester's alone. He's 1 on 1 HP. Luckily, we'll get past Hobbit, who then clears the right side, takes him out. And that's a very comfortable round in the end for Gambit, even though they do lose the site.
And it's important there that Gambit aren't just aware that they can put the utility onto the site and slow the bomb plant, but they're also aware that once you put the utility onto the site, Entropiq might try and make a hero play. They feel like they have to just go aggressive because those smokes are going to fade soon. So Nafany was just sitting here, watching the smoke, ready for someone to try and push through. As soon as you get that kill, the round is going your way. And Entropiq maybe have to go back to the pace at some point here, looking for that early mid fight. They've got that control they were looking for.
Yeah, Lackey is the front man in the charge. They've actually done a good bit of damage onto Hobbit already as well. Instead of playing Red Room, Hobbit is now taking up a different position inside of Donut at the beginning of the round. And the attention is of Red Room of being put on the shoulders of Nafany instead. And he's able to hold it down. Man advantage now for Gambit.
The pressure on mid could leave a weakness on B. That's what Entropiq are hoping, but Shiro's still here.
Certainly not a weakness, but in this round, completely domed and locked out. Inters is turning a little bit of a whiff spray, allows just one kill. Nice reply from Forrester, who's done a great job of just being explosive in this round. Nafany tries to get in and patch out the holes, but one kill isn't really going to give them that advantage. They've still got to fight their way through. Forrester was attempting a fight. The run boost around the corner. Right into the Mac 10. But that was a little fizzle out. It was like a firework that actually never went out. Just a little dud one, Hawken. But the run boost doesn't work out at all. And Entropiq are able to get another.
Just looked like he went limp halfway through the jump. Ended up coming up way too short on that long jump attempt. And Entropiq are able to get the round win. Those entries from Forrester, though, those are just so impressive. This first shot, Shiro's holding the angle. He hits that headshot, swings onto that second player. The crosshair placement was beautiful in that round from Forrester. And he will have those rounds sometimes where he flies in first like that. And look at what that's done to the economy. Oh, the mid-aggression with the pistols pays off, though.
Yeah, poor Nickelback. He tried to do his classic aggressive play through elbow, just gets caught by a swarming legion of pistols. And Crad is whiffed for the Mac 10. Nafany's turned around with a 5-7. And there's an AK in his hands now as well. Not the round you want to be seeing just yet for Entropiq. They still have better weapons. Certainly still recoverable effect, even with the initial damage.
They're still fine. They've actually found the empty bomb site. One CT just now getting into position, but Shiro has the USP. He's actually fallen back.
Yeah, Forrester's in a good spot here. He'll easily take this lineup. Shiro and Nafany down. Recovery for Entropiq has already come through. AK in the hands of Hobbit. A bad save call for Gambit here.
I've got to say, I respect Crad fully for committing to the Mac 10 spray for that long.
Really?
I do.
Yeah, I liked it. It was an attempt. That was for sure. So, you know, once you've hit mouse 1 for that many bullets, why not just do it all? Just hold it down for the entire magazine.
Sometimes those SMG sprays are hard, Dinko.
MP9 in particular.
As I know from first hand, flanking on Vertigo ramp with the MP9 and just missing every kill. No one was looking at me.
It's still in my nightmares, just watching that round.
If it's in your nightmares, imagine what it's done to me.
Exactly.
I'll never recover.
How's the therapy?
It's going well. It's a long process. Wow.
That sound is nightmare fuel. Yeah. 0 and 10, that's certainly nightmare fuel as well for
Why's the
Lackey.
cameraman got to do him like that?
Yeah, it really has. Like, speaking of nightmare fuel, Lackey, 0 and 10.
He has been in some tough entry spots, to be fair to him.
Yeah, he has. Did you know nobody managed to achieve a positive KD on Vertigo from the Entropiq lineup? Now I do.
Well, Forrest is positive right now. See if he can keep that up. He's had a couple of impact rounds. And Entropiq are finally finding some form here on their map pick. That early molly on mid was denied by Gambit, so they've got the CT control. But look at that aggression. Nickelback's got all the way in.
Oh, that itchy. It's going to land. Oh, right. Nowhere. Just nowhere. It's got out of the murder hole. Even the murder hole even kills Grenade Talker.
Apparently. Eats them all up.
Crad certainly will look to eat up a little Nafni around the corner.
This is that aggression from Crad you were talking about. Previous rounds, it was Lackey running up first because it was a team play, but oftentimes Crad likes to go for some ramp aggression alone, but it's the mid control for the majority of the team right now that could benefit Entropiq here. They have so much ground gained.
Yeah, they're going to try and get in towards the A side from 2 avenues, A-Main and Donut, but the lineup was there from Axel. Comes out with just 1 pick, replies there from Lackey. And now Shiro's trying to come back over to the site. Under a minute left on this clock. Entropiq, they do get into the site. It's just putting that bomb down. It's just being so difficult for them. And the bomb has been plucked out of the sky by Shiro's AWP. And that's information now for the rest of the squad to begin their crunch and rotation back. They've even got the held in the flank and drop back. And Hobbit is taking out Elliot as he tried to retreat. And Forrester is just nowhere to be seen. He's trying to get over towards this B site. He's trying to run it through the water. You could do that now with the changes, but
Hobbit might have heard him, honestly.
Gambit already know anyway. They know it's going to be this play. If you're going to make a Hail Mary play, you're going to be trying to go to the opposite side of the map. So Hobbit gets in a good position, but Forrester gets the right read. He can have often great awareness in these situations, but
Oh, no.
he's not going to check the cubby this time around. Good positioning from Inters. And an 8th round for Gambit.
Yeah, it's getting ahead of the game there. No way that he could expect that player to already be in the cubby. Entropiq are finding the early map control, but so often on Ancient, it can be those actual site takes that are the most difficult thing. Just getting that bomb down has never happened.
Yeah, and the problem is you have to use up so much utility a lot just to take mid, right? You got to smoke Red Room, Donut. If there's a molly down at elbow, you have to use your smoke for that. So you have 3 smokes you've got to use in mid early. And when you go into an A execute, when you try and drop back into the A execute, you just don't have enough smokes left.
I think that's why a lot of teams, when they take mid like that, will focus much more on Red Room, because then you can cut off rotations, potentially start to flank in towards that site. But if you're just coming in through Donut, as long as that A player can slow you down a little, and then you have some other players ready to rotate, and they're not too concerned about the flank, it's generally going to be favored for the CTs, especially when Shiro's around that temple.
Yeah,
so many strong angles for that AWP.
And that's why when you do see A play, and you often see A play less than you do B, is because you do need all that utility. So you often see just a straight up execute out of spawn into the A site. If you can get that split going through Donut, of course that's pretty solid, but then again you've got to save most of your nades for the A hit. It's quite difficult on the T side to figure out how to make the most out of the limited utility you'll have left. But Entropiq coming into this round are starting to drop even in weaponry. They don't have a lot of utility in this round at all. Now we're down to a Tech 9 here with Nickelback. Oh. It's just where this B play needs to work out, and Axel's found the opening. Nafni looking to hold, but he's overwhelmed. Lackey comes in with a pick. Shiro drops back into cave, and again, has a little helper here. Intra trying to help him out with flashes.
Hobbit gets another kill onto the side. The utility lacking, and that's what's costing them right now. Crad finally fighting back, and that bomb may be planted on the site, but how are they going to play the post plant?
Axel's around the backside. Lackey gets caught, brought down, and Entropiq are just getting through the choke point, but it's just getting the bomb down, keeping enough players left, and having some utility left. It's just never working out for Entropiq.
Gambit always feel comfortable in these scenarios in the late round, even there when they concede site control. I asked where they're going to play the post plant from because they had so few options, and Gambit can instantly start to predict and be prepared for some of those positions. Entropiq have the basics you need to get the round somewhat competitive, to get into good positions, but they just need that little extra oomph to get them over the top, and right now, it's not happening for them.
If they get one more round, I think it's still a doable game, of course, here on Ancient. If they get on the CT side, it's certainly a side where you can come back into it. But they really do need to squeeze one more round out of this half. It's unlikely to come in this because they do have some weaker weapons. They're saving up for the buy in the next round, and Inter is making it even more difficult than it already was. First kill through the smoke. Frankie gets caught. He's trying to follow up as well into a second pick, but he hides back in the cave itself.
Just buying that time so that Hobbit can come babysit him. And Hobbit is now in position, having rotated over.
You can say that's his full-time job on this team.
Pretty much.
Just have the coaches to help out with that, I guess. Molotov from Hobbit forces him into the fight. Really good stuff there from Entropiq just to clear out that close angle. They've won that cave control battle. Now that smoke actually isolates off Shiro from Nafany. So Nafany's into the solo fights. Good flashes. The timing on the swing needs to come now, and Elian certainly will capitalize on that opportunity. Pick him for Entropiq. Players still around here for Gambit, though. They've still got numbers around the site, but the utility this time for the T's has been used perfectly. And Krakow's leaping through the smoke right to a kill, and he comes out with a rifle. He's still got health as well, so this is now a favorable opportunity for Entropiq to pull off this 5th round.
Smoke and a molly available. That molly will force the player out of the site, and Krak could be in trouble.
Yeah, he was blinded when that Molotov started to go in, so lucky to get back. Axel now trying to chip back, and he's found 2 important kills. In fact, Axel gets them all. 3K as he sweeps up the remaining players, and that has to be frustrating as well for Entropiq. It felt so good for a chance into the round, but Gambit are just so poised and composed when it comes to those retakes.
Yeah, Axel coming all the way over from A, and that is a round where Entropiq try and work together in that post plant. You saw when Crab was mollied, that player in cave decides he's going to swing out so that they can try and fight together. And that is oftentimes how Entropiq like to play some of these post plants. They like to try and just work together and use their individual aim to just swing on the same angle. But this is a scenario where against Gambit, it can be really hard to do that. You see the swing come in here so that Crab can get back to safety. You just wonder whether Forrester's better off almost leaving his teammate in that scenario, trying to play a post plant and maybe spam towards that bomb, but that's not the way Entropiq like to approach those sorts of rounds. They like to try and fight together, and against Gambit, that can be hard to do sometimes, and you can see there, Axel just cuts them all down.
Technical pause here, unfortunately, heading into the last round of the half. Hopefully we can get that resolved as quickly as possible. Positive signs in terms of Entropiq being able to get onto the sites, though, Hawker. You got to take the little positives and see if you can force out this 5th round. This is essential for Entropiq to stay afloat here in Inchit. They have to win this next one.
Nafany having a really good game too, up to 18 frags. Shiro hasn't had to do too much here. Only 7 kills from his teammates have been stepping up, and it's a 3-man mid-stack.
Yeah, Nickelback loves to jump out of those smokes, but you often can just be made to look silly in those fights, and he does get caught early. Follow-up kill due to the initial nade damage is able to remove Lackey from play. He will finish this half on 2 kills. And 3 players left for Entropiq at the beginning of the round. This is something that was working against some of the weaker teams in this competition, but it just hasn't worked against Gambit. Shiro is holding on for the A plate. He's got the right read, he's got the right position. This is going to be very difficult. Elian boosting up a rifle, and Forrester again beats out Shiro.
All missed shots, Axar, but he finally hits the headshot, and that should seal this one. Elian shouldn't be given too many opportunities here in the 1-on-4.
We'll see if he can have a shot at this. He is the second clutching player, but this time not to be. Shot on the Axel, but Hobbit will close it. 11-4 at the half here for Gambit. Entropiq could not squeeze out that 5th round. It's certainly going to be a very difficult comeback into their map pick here, Hawker, but they've got to take the right steps. A pistol needs to go their way.
I loved some of those mid stacks in that half as well from Gambit. It looks like that's something they may have even prepped for Entropiq here, because we saw Entropiq in their earlier Ancient games having a lot of success with some of those fast mid plays. They loved running out early and using that to their advantage. There were quite a few rounds where Gambit had 3 players at mid ready to shut it down. As you pointed out, though, it's not over yet. Entropiq could really do with this second half pistol, because as soon as you win that, you can start to believe on a map that is fairly CT-sided.
Well, once you convert the pistol win, of course.
Sure.
Because in Counter-Strike now, the pistol can sometimes be a cruel mistress, especially when you're dealing with that T side coming up here as well. If Gambit, if they get the bomb down, they can get a forced buyout into the second round. So Entropiq, lots to think about here. It's certainly going to be the difficult route to come back into this game. And Krad is getting aggressive with a CZ. Not the best weapon for long-range fights, and he won't be favored in this situation, but because of the aggressive plays, now given a chance for them to think, okay, we can just push into the B side, and they've done that so efficiently here, Gambit.
The molly even cuts off the rotate, so there's no way back in. The bomb's already been planted. At least they have a kit, but they're going to need some quick kills.
Yeah, Krabs sees that it is finally going to find its reward. In fact, it has 2 more players in behind it as well. Entropiq have the first kill into the retake attempt. Now Shiro's side play needs to work out in tandem with Hobbit. First kill is there for Shiro. Hobbit's been able to find one down in towards CT. Elene will chip away his head, and now a 2 versus 3. Nafany under pressure. Lackey putting pressure on him and applying it further. Interest now the last remaining player, and he's got bucket loads of bullets left, but he needs to put them in the right spots. Headshots is in, but the defuse has been stuck around the corner, and Forrester has just pulled through the pistol. Interest tries to get around the corner, but the defuse was always coming through, and Entropiq, they have won the pistol, but that bomb plant has come in.
Absolutely. Inters comes close there, does a decent job at spotting both those players, trying to play for time. Wasn't fully sure if they had that kit or not, though, so wasn't able to commit in time. As you pointed out, though, with that bomb plant, you can expect there to be pressure applied instantly into this next round. And Entropiq are aware of it too. They know that if they can win early here and just get a strong start, get that money built up, that's their best chance. So they're taking that timeout ahead of this round.
Third tactical timeout being used up in their map pick here, going into round 17.
Look at the firepower in this buy for Gambit.
It's ridiculous. It is going to be very difficult for Entropiq to try and deal with. They know what's coming their way, though. They have to. Back of their head, they've got to know that this buy is coming your way, and so they've gone for 3 M4A1Ss into this round. They don't really have the utility right now to deal with a faster play of Gambit send it.
Yeah, that is true. You normally want mollies on a fair few positions early to stop aggression, but with Gambit having such good weaponry, they seem happy to spread into a default at the start of the round, and they've got the nades for the early mid control.
Yeah, there's barely any utility left at all now for Entropiq. Just 1 smoke and 1 HE, and a decoy for some reason.
Might be useful.
Fake flash.
Try and drop it as a fake flash. Who knows?
Let's throw it. You know, 1 HP damage. We have seen some decoy kills. And plus, I'm not going to count anything out because there was that clip of the blast competition where an AWP shot was landed into his Tetris or Mirage. I think it was G2 playing. And the shot was actually blocked by like a flash or something. So that can happen, Hawker.
Yeah, just like a nade that was like flying through the air from a nade, which was very weird.
Here we are, 1 minute and 4 seconds left. Nickelback pushed up in towards Jaguar.
Oh, top mid has been taken now by Gambit, and the CTs don't have eyes on that position. They may feel like they want to take this control back towards mid, but with Nafany so far up, he could be a real thorn in their backside.
There's going to be a B hit and try and use Nafany into the late round. Try and cut off rotations from A, but they do need to win cave control here. 2 players in that. CTs can feel comfortable if they maintain cave control, and that is exactly what Gambit do not want to happen. And Hobbit will clear it out. The cave is now empty, and now the play into the B slot has already happened. Bomb needs to go down here, Gambit. There's no utility really for this one to cover off the position, so they've got to just get the kills, and they've done that efficiently. And for the retake, absolutely no utility at all here for Entropiq. Elliot and Lackey going to be caught by that flank of Nafany, who's waited so patiently for his kill. And the patience will be rewarded. Lackey now trying to catch the timing. Will do so onto Hobbit. Galil now down, but he's going to keep the FAMAS. He starts to come up in towards the top of B. He wants to do these fights quickly, but Axel will make sure his death is swift. 12-5, that's that Gambit force buy we're talking about. Entropiq, yes, they win the pistol, but the problem is, if you let that bomb go down for the T side, you've got to be able to convert it, and they just couldn't do it. They just didn't have the resources available.
Yeah, and also Entropiq was stacked fairly heavily towards A and mid. They had 3 players on that side of the map, so as soon as Nafany gets into Red Room, he can probably hear those rotations. He can even choose if he wants to cut off those rotations or just play in the back side. So as soon as those early fights go the way of Gambit, it's always going to be hard for the CTs to get back into position. And now they go for the force buy here, but could be a really hard one to win. Even with the buy, they don't have much to work with.
So they're just taking a risk, trying to play more aggressive, trying to get in the face in the fight, but Hobbit is just going to bring down 2 players at the beginning of the round. The sting is out of the play here for Entropiq. The idea is certainly there, try and make it uncomfortable, but Hobbit is dealing with it. The rest of Gambit are just biding their time with that space now created. They can safely move through the double doors instead of walking into the aggressive stack. This is looking good now for Gambit to try and close this one to 13.
Almost guaranteed. Entropiq are already retreating. It's not even going to be easy for Entropiq to get a gun round going here in their second half with how this is going right now. 13-5. will be confirmed any second. The economy is in shambles. And we were saying, heading into this tournament, we want Gambit to come in here and make a statement off the back of the major. We were saying we want them to come in and be the best team at this event, and to do so convincingly. And even if they lost their opening best of one, anyone can lose a best of one, especially against a team like Fiend. Since we've hit the series, they've looked really solid, and now in the grand final, they're stepping up when it matters most and proving they are still one of the best teams in the world right now, based on this level of performance.
Certainly so. And this is a great confidence booster as well for a young team that maybe take a hit from all the community backlash, everybody, tearing down their achievements and telling them they're onliners and telling them it's not enough and just preying on their downfall. Like, this is definitely a redemption event for them to say, okay, we are just so much better than the teams at this level. We are that elite team. We can believe in ourselves more. And the teams ahead of them, the teams that really get in their way, it's just Na'Vi. And I think they realize when they look at this world of Counter-Strike right now, they want to be top 2. Nafni said that in an interview just yesterday. Top 2 is their goal at the end of the year. And people were saying it's impossible. It's certainly possible for this Gambit side. And this would go a long way. Winning this event would put them closer and closer to that.
Ooh. Hobbit got tickled on mid, so decided to fight back through the smoke. Not much in this round for Entropiq. They are kind of just conceding this one. It never feels good when you're 13-5 down, but sometimes you have to play for the later round. You need to get a gun round at some point, so it will be easy pickings for Gambit. 14-5 lead. Entropiq would need a monster comeback here on their map pick.
Yeah, Entropiq just haven't really made Gambit sweat at all in this game. They haven't forced them to call the timeouts, let their coach speak. They haven't really made Gambit feel uncomfortable or steer away from their game plan at all. Entropiq have just struggled to make it difficult for them. They've got to do that now. This bye round, if they lose it, it is likely 2-0 down in the grand final. Pulling off a reverse sweep and a best of 5 against the number 3 team in the world, that's just not doable, Hawk. In my eyes, that is just riding your deadborn if you lose this map.
Oh, mid-control contested, but Hobbit gets the kill while blind. Lackey shut down at the start of the round, and now Entropiq are going to have to adjust to the fact that they've lost mid early. They're rotating players in towards B, which seems like the correct call right now, but Gambit are leaving their options open by just spreading into this early default.
Yeah, they just feel comfortable playing the default. We've seen that time and time again from them. They're just trying to figure out how much utility do Entropiq really have, and it's not a lot at all. There's a couple of flashes left, and now if Gambit decide they want to execute on a bomb site, well, there's not going to be any mollies to slow them down. There's no smokes to buy extra time for Entropiq. It's Gambit's round to play, and Entropiq realized that. Maybe a little bit of a risk needed to be taken. They looked like they wanted to go for some of that classic B aggression, but it seems like they're a little scared to go for that style now, Hawker.
Yeah, maybe because they're up against Gambit, maybe that is making a difference. You can see in this round, Gambit were ready for that B aggression that could have potentially been coming through, but the call to cancel means they can play back from the bomb site. Gambit will start to group up outside of B.
They're in limbo right now on the CT side of where to go. They're playing pretty passive on the A side, realizing they can make those quick rotations back to B. But they're going to need these kills. Entropiq, Ellian held off the cave play, and that focuses Krat down on the B play. He's taken 2 out of the round. Nafni and Hobbit are out of play, and now Shiro's turn. They're trying to chip away at the numbers, but it's just not going to happen for him. And Axel's turn to try and clutch. 1 versus 2 for Axel to try and pick this one up. Elaine and Forrester sit behind them. 14 seconds left and that bomb is down. Axel begins to move his way forward into the site. He can turn this into 1v1s, but this time he's got to play for elimination now, and what a quick shot from Elian. Axel domed and butchered into the ground. At least another round here for Entropiq. The first of many to come, hopefully.
Yeah, just a bit of a gap there for Elian to work with initially. Final shot is fantastic. You see how Shiro, even in that scenario, did do a pretty good job at figuring out exactly how he could take those fights and exactly how he could turn it into 1v1s, but unfortunately just fluffed some of those second shots. And for Gambit, despite having such a lead here, this is their 3rd timeout taken at 14-6. In the long run, that could be something worth thinking about, but it's still a long, long road for Entropiq to get back into this. Those are those kills from Prad, just able to play from the bomb site. Finally, some signs of life individually from Entropiq. Up until this point, it was only really Forrester who was making some plays and landing some impressive shots. Now we're maybe going to start to see everyone else get involved. bring that back from the man deficit too. So pretty impressive for Entropiq.
There's Crag getting aggressive. Nafty's trying to hold for it. Steps being made, so they know there has been an aggressive play. They know what map control they have lost. And Crag will confirm to them that that is the case. He doesn't find anything other than info that it's completely empty. But no kill for him.
Everyone from Gambit sitting outside of B.
Resmoke as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that will buy even more time. There's a lot of utility for Gambit. It can be awkward to use when you're retaking this control, and that flash finally coming through, they will gain that ground back.
Nafty,
look at this rotate.
Slowly pushing them away. Entropiq need to get the numbers over here. They've done well to pick up that first kill, and now with that rotation that you just pointed out, they've got the numbers in place. They've got the kills as well, but they've just been pulled back by Gambit. Hobbit, Shiro, and Inters getting involved. Shiro gets caught by the flash of Inters and therefore sets up the kill of Lackey, which assisted by Forrester results in a round win for Entropiq. 7 rounds now. Entropiq starting to get a little foothold in the first time here at Ancient. It's a long way to go, but they are getting into the game now.
Full confidence in the read from Entropiq there too. They go for the full-on rotation. They are convinced that Gambit are committing everyone to that side of the map. And having Forrester arrive as that final player was something that Gambit just weren't expecting. You saw they were fully focused on that player they'd already spotted. They didn't think Forrester would get there quite so soon.
There's a technical timeout right now, so we're just waiting to get that resolved. I was wondering if Entropiq had forced Gambit into that uncomfortable situation finally. As I was pointing out, you know, they haven't really made them sweat. They haven't made them want to go to the timeouts or be in these difficult spots. It has all been about Gambit just playing their own game and Entropiq falling flat to it. This is that first pick from Crad. Really gets us started. Nafny was starting to try and slowly create that space forward, and Gambit just focusing too much on one angle, gets caught in the lineup. So Entropiq able to make those rotations, get that information when Gambit are playing this slow style of play. Coming into this round, they will have a buy. It won't be the prettiest of buys though for Gambit, and you know, a player like Nafny will lack a little bit of utility. So we're possibly looking at maybe a little change in pace from Gambit could come within the next few rounds, Holka. They had just been playing this default stance or going heavy towards B and just slowing it down completely. It has been forced into the slow play from Entropiq at times as well, so they've done a good job at that.
Yeah, the buy shouldn't be too bad. As you pointed out, just some missing nades, mostly for Gambit. That if you do want to run that early mid control, for example, we've pointed out that it's normally going to cost you a couple of smokes and a molly at a minimum. Nafny would just go down to the Galil though, and that means the utility is fine for the most part. Double AWP setup out for Entropiq. They're hoping this is what will allow them to start to lock down this CT side, which is what they need to do here, really, for their chances in this grand final. If they lose their map pick and go 2-0 down in the BO5, coming back will be a tough ask. Molly didn't land properly.
This is the problem with Ancient. We've seen a flash earlier in this competition that was thrown into his donut, getting caught in the stairs. Now this Molotov hits a little pixel on the floor. Elian gets away with the kill even while blinded. Nafny down again at the beginning of the round.
That's always annoying when you blind your opponent and they still find the frag on towards you. You feel like you've done everything right and it still costs you. But here's the response from Gambit. Red room control taken. And Forrester, who's been solid all game, is the man watching to see if he can catch them out.
Comes down to the timing. Does he let them slip in behind? Because now they're focusing on the play. They're dropping that player back from CT with playing B. It's Elian with the AWP that gets caught by Hobbit. And now the pressure really is on Forrester to hold the gate, and he will. He'll take one. Hobbit and Inter is getting kills in the round for Gambit. It's kept it a 3v3, but it's Axel's play into the A bomb site that was coming for a long time and finally gets his reward. Bomb goes down for Gambit. Entropiq starting to split up the numbers into the 1-for-1 fights. Crad will enter from Donut. And he gets spotted. The fight's now forced onto him elsewhere. It will be one kill. It's Axel who will fall. But it's Forrester now with everything to do. Coming in from Temple, dealing with his double donut setup into the post plant. It's just so difficult, especially when you don't have a smoke, you don't have a molly. You've got to clear all these angles, and the bomb is perfectly planted for Gambit into this post plant. Forrester's chances of winning this round are extremely slim. And as this time takes on, it is now in the realms of impossibility. He realizes that and concedes. Saving the AUG instead of throwing it away to the wind. Gambit will reach map point on Ancient. Entropic's map pick is going the way of Gambit right now. Just one round away, and they will be 2-0 up in this best-of-5 grand final.
And Entropiq only saw that single player pushing Donut. Shiro was just tucked in on the side, so that's why he's clearing all those other possessions. They never saw that second man. And even after Gambit go a man down early, they do such a solid job at reacting to this. Axel somehow just able to sneak into A past that AWP. That was the difference maker in the round, but also the fact they had that mid-round call to come back to A. Perfectly played from Gambit, and they're looking for the win against the low buy. They've already got the first frag, just 4 more to fight.
A great kill from Hobbit. And for Entropiq, they don't really have the resources to pull this back comfortably. They've got to hope a lot goes their way. Cap there for Inters, he wanted to try and play with it. Tries to get the spam down to the aggressive player. Luckily for Nickelback, he gets away with his life. He continues his play forward out of the B lane, gleaming all this information. There is no one in B lane. There's no one setting up for the B play. The rest of his teammates begin to join him, but that's a long way away. It's all a lot of pressure here on Elliot to try and hold the fort. He doesn't got the weapon for it. Just a scout and play. So he's got to hope that this play from middle can work out. And Nickelback has found a headshot onto Hobbit. The rest of the Gambit squad now to gather outside of the A site. Do they commit into A or do they drop back? It seems like that's the call, to just fall away from the A site and go elsewhere.
Yeah, they want Nafany to sell the pressure on the lurk as this fake behind that smoke. They're seeing if he could get that chance.
But Entropiq have the numbers elsewhere. They have the players over on the B site.
And Alien realized he mollied them off and they haven't pushed his position, so he's confident to keep those players over there. And with 38 seconds remaining and little utility for Gambit, if Entropiq can use these positions to their advantage, they could be in good shape. Krad's fighting alone, though.
Yeah, Krad is alone, which means there's a lot of pressure on him at least getting 1 kill. Realistically, to put them in a comfortable spot, he needs 2. Let's see if Krad can get away with it. Good performances yesterday. This time gets the right peek out for the timing. Inters gets caught switching weapons, and Nickelback is given a kill. He has been the player that's done everything in this round, gleaned the information, got the pick in mid, and now has found the follow-up. It's on to Axel and Nafany, who are separated completely. There's no time for it, and Gambit are done in this round. Entropiq are able to pick it up, and now they're looking for the kills after time. Unfortunately for Entropiq, they will not be able to find Axel. 8 rounds for Entropiq. Still a little foothold in the game, but it's still a very long road. They have to be flawless just to bring it to overtime.
You could clearly see that Gambit were relying on the fact that they had drawn out enough of a rotation, that there was only one player pushed in aggressively to B, and that everyone else had rotated away. That's why he switches weapons there. He doesn't think there'd be another player at the back of the site when that player was pushed so far in. They did lose a couple of weapons at the end, but I think the reason they went hunting is because they knew that Gambit's economy is also really bad. So even losing those guns should still be okay. They will have a couple of weakened weapons, but Gambit have gone for the full investment here. A couple of AKs to show for it, and a bunch of players out towards A early.
They're ready to pop in towards this A site. The defense again from Entropiq is quite a passive setup in towards A. Williams picked up the first. The lineup for Forrester was there, but he didn't come away with a kill. He's very close to taking 2 though. 2 HP on Axel, 9 on Nafany. They haven't been able to get into the A site comfortably and be able to put that bomb down. So Entropiq have made rotations over, and they've got to realize now that Gambit have not committed into A. Gambit are once again slowing down the play and trying to relocate.
This time Entropiq have fallen somewhat harder for that rotation, though. They have got Lackey trapped in Donut. They have got another player on the site, and Gambit could just double back through mid to A.
Oh, Lackey. Spotted out a little bit of info. He's in a decent spot, but they're going to nade stack him and try and bring down his health. Hasn't eliminated him out of play, though, and that's a problem. They're still having to take so much time just trying to deal with Lackey, and he's just staying alive. Finally, Shiro gets his feet, but still the time is tucked down to 20 seconds, and Gambit are no closer to taking the A site just yet. That bomb is going back to B instead. They're going to see if they can get through the site. There's a player over there right now to try and cause some problems, and that's Nickelback. He's been so good so far, and he'll get another lineup of 2 players. Krad comes in with a follow-up. We have to remember what Gambit brought to the table in this round. It wasn't a fantastic buy, but it's Entropiq's round win.
Important position from Nickelback. He keeps putting himself as that player, just staying on that B site whenever they may come back to him. So he's making sure that he's in the position where he knows he has to frag. He outpositions them, as in the late round, Gambit were a little disjointed, finally making that decisive call to go back to B, but it came somewhat late. Only a couple of players able to follow through on it. And Entropiq have finally broken the bank here. Easy pickings against these Glocks. They've already found the first two. This should be a free round.
Yeah, getting up to double figures, it's just a mindset change as well. You know, it's starting to look closer and closer to that comeback scoreline. Entropiq are starting to make Gambit sweat now.
And you also know you can break that economy consistently if you can deny the bomb plant. And with only 5 rounds remaining, potentially in the rest of regulation, if you break that economy a couple of times, you only need a few more gun round wins to actually make this competitive.
Gambit coming into this again, just for everybody at home. They only need 1 more round win and they will have this. Entropiq have to win the next 5 rounds available. But Gambit's buy is back. It's not the prettiest of buys again. Nafny has sacrificed the AK to get a little bit more utility out in play. Again, Entropiq getting that B smoke down at doors. It's just getting them so much control.
Gambit have never tried to fight through this early in the round. It's always been that smoke from spawn, and oh, Crad was ready for the boost.
And
huge damage done.
And that comes back to what we were talking about before. You know, we set up what Crad can do. He can be aggressive, he can be impactful, and he's starting to find those opportunities.
Alien having a look towards mid. And they came in towards him, so he knew there was a player there. Crad continuing to stay aggressive on this angle. Couple of players playing back on the site. Yet again, though, Gambit more than happy to run the clock down. I think they're aware that they need to gain some B control back before going for anything. Otherwise, the play may be too obvious. So they finally start to group up outside B. And there are no more smokes remaining, but he goes through!
Crad, this is the confident play you like to see out of him. Entropiq weren't doing this a lot in the early rounds, but now they're starting to feel themselves. But Nickelback's going to get caught. Enters methodical in the clearance at the bottom of B ramp. And that is going to give the Gambit side the advantage into this round. Now with 35 seconds left, Gambit need to start making a decision. Where is that bomb going to go?
5 kills in this game for Lackey. He has to step up here. He's the only player on this side.
He has to get the kills. He's taking the first Hobbit down. Second in from Lackey. He's looking for the 3K, but Axel's overrun him. 20 seconds left as now the space is being made into the A site. Shiro, the danger man, has been a little quieter than usual here on Inshin. He's pushed in towards Temple, but can this be the clutch to pull them over the line? 1 kill for Shiro, and now just 1 more needed. Elian creeps closer. Elian comes in. 1v1. Shiro commits the bomb plant, but nothing more than that. Elian keeps Entropiq in the game as we go to 11. And Entropiq are starting to feel much more comfortable and confident now in their map pick. You can just see it in the plays that they're making. The coolness on the under pressure in terms of when you see them after the round wins as well, Hawker. Entropiq are in the game.
And Entropiq are winning some of these late round scenarios where the rounds are coming close. That's something they couldn't ever really get going their way on the first map. And finally, it is that final tactical timeout taken by Gambit. We pointed it out earlier. They used a fair few timeouts early in this game. They used their 3rd early in the half. Now they decide it's time for the final timeout. And that was a round where they had a pretty good call. They go back to the side of the map where it's only Lackey holding. But Lackey steps up with a huge double kill. That buys that bit of extra time for the other CTs to get into position. And even with the bomb plant, Gambit decide they can't afford to buy. Just down to Tech 9s and a Mac 10 for this one. This is where they might up the pace, though.
Maybe a quicker round, but Entropiq have shown they can deal with that change in pace as well. They've had those players being able to deal with the multi-kill potential. We'll see if Entropiq can do that again.
Could be a fast B here for Gambit.
Looks like it. Up the B ramp they go. Crad needs to get 1 or 2. He's only found 1. Now Nickelback with more pressure on his shoulders. Gambit have broke their way through to the B site, and Nickelback catches them as they try to dart towards CT spawn. Aliens come over to try and help him out. Nickelback's doing a great job of just keeping his team in this one. Gambit haven't been able to put the bomb down. It's loose in the open. And 12 rounds for Entropiq.
I think Gambit were hoping it would have been that same aggression from Crad where they could just try and run down that rifle early in the round. But this time, no smoke from Entropiq. Nickelback sitting back in a good spot. He realized that was unlikely to be smoked off and that Gambit would want to gain ground further into the site. So he just bides his time for that frag, and Entropiq are able to rotate over in time. 5 in a row for the CT side. Let's see if they can keep it up.
It just feels more pressure every time, you know, Gambit are coming into a gun round, though. Rifles are back out. Shiro's AWP's there. Where's he been this entire map? Shiro has not delivered the impact he has all tournament long on this map, and this could be the round to try and close it. He's got that AWP out. They're putting pressure on him to boost him up over the top and hold that line. Well, they now move in again. They're getting onto the B site. Rifle's trying to open it. Elians come in with the first pick. Crad, this lineup is good for him. He's found one pick and just stayed alive towards cave as Forrester makes the rotation over. Entropiq are stopping the B plays again from Gambit. They're just not getting into the site. They're not getting the kills, and the bomb can never go down. And maybe Hobbit slipped through. Could pull a couple of kills here for Gambit. He found Forrester first. They now double up together.
Focus on the right side with that molly in place, but getting the bomb planted is so tricky. They need the frags, and now they can go A.
And that has just opened up that avenue completely. Axel's running towards it, but Hobbit, he's holding off the play, but he's just put Axel alone into the 1 versus 2 as Axel has not decided to commit yet. That'll buy some extra time for Entropiq to get closer, but Axel's into the clutch. The bomb has gone down. The rest of his teammates can do nothing but sit back and watch as they try and close it here. Axel's low in HP, 21, and they are spread into the 1v1s. Axel can certainly turn this in the fight, but Crad has decided not to walk into CT on his own. He's waiting for his teammate to get closer and closer so they can play into the A site together. And that should work out for Entropiq. Axel has to hope he can turn into the 1v1 fights, which is exactly what he's done now. Just a 1 versus 1 between him and Nickelback. Axel tries to close it for Gambit, looking to take them through to their second map win here in the grand finals. Axel's got it done! 16-12 for Gambit as Nafany with pure elation as Gambit are now 2-0 up in the best of 5. Entropiq with the comeback, but not enough was done in the initial stages of Ancient, and they have now got to pull off the reverse sweep if they want to win this grand final, Hawker. And it is easier said than done. Not many teams can do that.
Bit of a release at the end there for Gambit, because I think they could feel that comeback was mounting. They could feel that game was slipping away. But Axel wins the 1v2, and he was so confident that he just had to hold that angle for so long. I think some other players might have started to think about looking back to the site. Crad tried to make the fake steps in towards mid, but he never fell for it. Did so well there in that clutch scenario, and he gets them the win.
I think Gambit are now using this time to go and start doing some stretches, some warm-ups, because they know they're going to have to try and lift that huge trophy if they can win this next map. Hawk, it's looking very good for them. You know, looking at Entropiq, do you see a way back into the series now for them?
It's so tricky because now you get the Gambit pick of Overpass. That's a map that historically they've just always loved. It's just always been an important part of their map pool. This was a good fight on Ancient for them. The attempted comeback was pretty solid, but man, Gambit just always seem to have that extra inch when they need it. When it comes down to crunch time, they are able to pull through, and they do it again here.
Yeah, it's definitely slow on the T side. Started to slow down significantly. Entropiq will be frustrated, I think, with some of the early rounds. You know, Lackey in particular will definitely be worried about his individual performance there, because that's the story we've run with a lot of the time is Entropiq don't have a weakness. They don't have a weak link, but unfortunately at the beginning of this game they did.
Absolutely, that has to happen for them. You kind of need every player to step up, and unfortunately having that one weak link can sometimes be the difference. There's never going to be a game where you feel like there's a huge weak spot on the Gambit side, at least not normally, so that's got to be something that comes through.
Well, it is time for a break, ladies and gentlemen. The third map of this best of 5 will be coming up after this, but before that, if you've got to hear the thoughts of the Des, stick around after the break.